Hey guys, welcome to Spirit Pig. This is the show that explores how to live a fulfilled life. I'm Duncan CJ, and today I'm talking with Leif Harum, a travel writer, blogger, and photographer. When Leif was just 16 years old, he ran away from home without a cent to his name and went off exploring in Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. And he was often going hungry for days at a time, sleeping under countless cold downpours, falling victim to drugs, and spending weeks in solitude, often not talking or seeing a single soul. And during this time, he suffered a great deal, but he also, I believe you said, you also grew through this suffering. And he's now been on the road for 10 years. He's traveled to 74 different countries. And during this time, he's dabbled in Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, and he has discovered unique places, met eccentric and enlightening people, and undertaken many life-altering adventures. Leif, thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Well, thanks for having me.
This is, I was saying just before we hit record, like, without a doubt, you win the award of by far the best backdrop. Like, we haven't had anything like this before. Where exactly are you right now? You're in Guatemala.
In Guatemala, yeah, I'm in the Guatemalan highlands at this lake called Lake Atitlan. We're about a mile high, 5,200 feet above sea level, and we're actually inside the lake itself is like the crater of what once was a huge super volcano. And then on top of that, there are three volcanoes surrounding the lake. It's unlike anywhere else I've ever been.
I feel, half of people will be watching the video, half people might just be listening to the audio MP3. So for those people, unfortunately, you're missing out on something pretty special there. But I think you described travel as, there's a great quote, travel is like life on a binge of Red Bull and crack cocaine. Would you say that's a pretty fair description?
Definitely, definitely. And I think anyone who's kind of gone backpacking before can really relate to it, because when you're traveling, you end up meeting so many people so quickly, having so many experiences, and when you look back on it, it almost feels as if you were on drugs or something because there's so many quick connections, and you think that you see how everything kind of all intertwined really perfectly, and how it was all kind of meant to be, and yeah, feels like Red Bull crack cocaine.
We don't suggest anyone does that. But you've been on the road for, I think I just, I know, yeah, no disclaimer. I think you've been on the road for over 10 years, I just mentioned. And something I know you hear a lot of is, like, what are you running away from? And you feel, yes, sure, there's a portion of running away, but the main thing that people often overlook is this running towards. Is that, like, what is this running towards? That's what it's about, isn't it?
Yeah, I think like anything in life, it's a balance. So part of me, I am running away from the kind of iron cage that society puts us into, and running towards, the life that I want to live. And the amazing thing right now is the internet allows us to be so location independent, and so you really can run away and still make money through your computer, and yeah.
It's incredible, and I think one of the fantastic things about sort of going out your comfort zone and traveling around the world is that you meet just this eccentric, fascinating range of different people. Who was this Irish man, Fred, aka Falcon?
Oh. He was an interesting guy. He was really cool. He was originally from Belgium, actually, and he moved to Ireland, I think, in his 20s, and just fell in love with it. And he stayed there, for 10 years or something. He stayed there so long that he forgot how to speak his native tongue Flemish. And when I met him, we were in this really shoddy hostel in Cairo. It was like $1 a night. Bed bugs. Wake up every morning with thousands of bed bugs. But yeah, you pay what you get. What my grandmother says. Anyways, this guy was convinced that he was going to open the secret chamber underneath the Sphinx. And so he had me come down with him to the Sphinx every night. We'd sneak into the pyramid complex. We'd wait outside the Sphinx. And apparently we had to wait for one other girl to come. And together the three of us, our combined energy, would open the secret chamber, the Hall of Records, which contained the history of Atlantis or something. He was so into it. And he'd like memorized the 72 names of of God in Aramaic and Hebrew and Arabic and stuff. And but I didn't. I took it a grain of salt, right? But it was just cool to hear his perspective on it, and it was just fun to sneak into the pyramids with him. Really.
Traveling has taught you that as long as you remain positive and trust in the universe, everything will work out in the end. Like, some people might hear that word trust in the universe and think, oh god, shit, what's he talking about? But John, maybe just explain that.
I know. I couldn't think of a more less cliche kind of way to put it, but it's just so true. And it's not like a hippie kind of idea. I mean, it is, but it's not at the same time. It's just kind of like when you travel, you see, and like I was talking about earlier, when you look back and you see how everything just worked out perfectly, and you go, God, if I hadn't worried so much, there was no need to worry so much, because everything kind of feels like it's on this preordained path almost. And I don't want to get into that fate, free will argument, but
we can chat about. We can talk about that for hours, can we?
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, I find that when I plan less and worry less, everything works out. And it goes for just whether you're at home or whether you're traveling. You just realize it more when you're traveling.
Another thing is that the poorer the country that you visited, you've often found more welcoming and giving its people were. I think that's just basically just a really interesting sort of realization. So like the people who have less and less and less, you found in your experience. I mean, you've traveled to 74 countries, so we're talking to somebody who's like a good source. You found that the less people have, often they let you in, they invite you for supper, let you stay.
Yeah, I think that because we have so much in the West, but at the same time we've never experienced what it's like to really go hungry or to suffer in those kind of very primal ways, those survival kind of ways. And so yeah, the poorer the countries I've gone to, like in parts like rural, like Syria, like rural Africa, Ethiopia, Southeast Asia too, you find that, because they know what it's like to be hungry, they just seem more welcoming. I don't want to say that, Britons or Americans are less welcoming, because we're pretty welcoming people, but I think when it comes down to it, they give more even though they have less on average, maybe. Yeah. If I'd be so bold to say that. Yeah.
Have you been like that's a theme that's come up? We've talked to a couple of sort of adventurers and travelers, and they are like a theme that's come up again and again and again. Is this sort of optimism about actually the goodness of humanity? We watch the news. We can often paint quite a negative, pessimistic view of the world, but it's a theme that's come up again and again and again. Like just the kindness of strangers. Have you found that, or what's your experience?
Yeah, definitely. Like we all have this image, and we're kind of from childhood. They tell us, careful of strangers, this and that. But I mean, to an extent, yeah. But at the same time, you have to, the more you trust in people that you don't know, the more, the energy you put out is the energy you get back. So if you trust someone you don't know, they're going to show you that same trust back, and you can keep building on that, kind of like a, positive feedback loop. It's just like building this trust and good energy, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. And to search for happiness, I know this is something you've kind of talked about a bit, and like you've blogged about and written on your website. Like this sort of search for happiness in the external world is almost sort of a search without end. So I mean, if you're not happy in Paris, there's a good chance you won't be happy in Sydney, London, wherever you travel. If you're constantly like looking to find happiness in a place, you're looking at it in the wrong. This is an internal thing. Is that kind of, did you always know that, or was that kind of a discovery that you've realized on this travel, on this journey? Were you always hoping to find it at the next place, and then suddenly it wasn't there?
Yeah. I think I first realized it when I ran away the first time from home, and I kept having this great ideal, this really romanticized idea of Slovenia being this beautiful haven where everything was good and I could start a new life and this and that. But I mean, I quickly learned, after a month or two, that I kept moving from place to place. I went to Slovenia, I wasn't happy. I went to the next country, and yes, in the beginning, I had a few days of this, kind of euphoric culture shock but it always turned out that, because I hadn't resolved my problems at home and stuff, and because I wasn't really content with myself, that I would never find happiness, and I realized that, and then I eventually went home to kind of make amends and stuff, and before setting out on another trip, that is.
Also, another one. I like when you're realizing that that karma's real. Like some birds, or like basically taught you a lesson, didn't they?
Oh man, yeah. I was on a train from, I think it was Edinburgh down to London, and there's this lady, and she was getting really drunk. She must have been like mid 40s or something, and she left her cell phone on like the tray table, on the seat tray table, and she like kept doing it. I was sitting across and kept looking. I was like, God, like if I had that phone, I could sell it in London. I could like eat. I hadn't eaten in like a couple of days, and the hunger was just building and building. And I just, she went away. She was so sloshed, and I grabbed the phone and put it in my pocket and stuff, and she came back. I could have sworn she knew it was me who took it, but thankfully she didn't find out. But anyways, got to London, sold the phone, made €70 off like a BlackBerry back in the day, and yeah, just bought lots of food with it, ate so much, and but the next day I was sitting under this building, some like off street of King's Cross station, and I was reading my map, like trying to figure out where to go next, and I looked up, like it was like the perfect timing. These two birds just like not even pooped, like diarrhea all over me. And I had this big afro then, like this big curly afro. It's diarrhea all over my hair and my face, and and it was just like right as that happened, then like the text came through, and I like looked at the phone. It's like, you terrible person stealing my phone. Like, oh, it was just the timing, and I just realized like, yeah, karma is definitely real.
And so that was sort of, was that the turning point when you realized, right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it the legal way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pretty much actually, because a bunch of stuff before that had happened too, and like it's just like I just realized like you put out bad energy, and then you're gonna get the bad energy back some way or another.
What's this idea of life is relative? Because another sort of story with sort of the shop owner offering you a Coca-Cola. Like, what do you mean by life is relative?
With that example, it was like I hadn't eaten in a long time, and then I finally had a soda, and the soda just tasted like heavenly. Like I had never tasted something so delicious before, even though I had, but it was so hungry. I'd been in without it for so long. So yeah, I guess it went to show me that happiness is relative too, and to have the good times, to be happy, you have to have the bad times, kind of, and yeah, it's almost like the more bad times you have in life, like if you're depressed for a long time, well, you should look forward, because it's only way to go is up after that, and you're gonna be even the same amount of happiness as you were depressed the opposite way. Yeah.
So do you find that, knowing that, is that what? So it's sort of the ebbs and flows, it's the waves. So you just got to ride out the waves. So that if you're going through a downtime, that the yin yang kind of vibe. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I think before I kind of realized that, I'd often turn to like alcohol, or I'd start smoking too much, or doing other kinds of drugs. But after I kind of realized that, I was like, when the downtime hit, I kind of just weather the storm, and just wait, because I knew it was going to get better again. So, and even today, I just kind of struggle with that, but I keep reminding myself that it's going to get better again. So just wait it out. Don't turn to drugs. It's like the worst.
Because you share your story, and you were 16 years when you ran away from home, and through your blog, you share your story and the struggles, but also the good things, and all the amazing things you've seen. I know that you receive sort of hundreds of emails every week from kids who are contemplating running away. Is that quite a difficult emotional thing to have to deal with, or like how do you find that rewarding, or what's your kind of relation to that?
Yeah, it's difficult, but it's rewarding at the same time, for sure. Like, I get the chance to help a lot of people, a lot of kids who are in my situation, a lot of kids who are in totally different situations, and I think those are the ones who are the most challenging, because it's harder for me to relate to them. Like, there was a girl from Namibia who was being like beaten in her home or something, and I mean, how I'm not sure what to say. But I come up with something, and as best I can. And there's another girl in Italy who ran away from home. She ended up working as a nanny in someone's house randomly. It's worked out. And there was so many. I'd say like 95% don't run away. They don't leave, but the other 5% do. And sometimes I'm worried that the blog kind of encourages them, even though I write a lot about how tough it is. But yeah, it's challenging but I think it's helping more than it is hurting for sure. Because before, I guess, my kind of resource, there was just a lot of really just articles by big companies like WikiHow and other Wikipedia stuff that was just like how to run away in 10 steps, and like these like drawings of little kids run away from home. And, like there's no kind of moral implication. There's no kind of the negatives and the positives. And I think it helps.
Yeah,
I hope it helps.
Yeah, no, I think, and you're very clear. I mean, it's very clear everywhere that how I mean, because I think the website, like the title, like Runaway Guide, almost seems like it's encouraging it. But you're very clear the whole way through how it's not encouraging people to sort of just up and leave their things. It's more of a travel thing, for people like later on, and you're always encouraging them to people to work out their problems at home, and then and so you're very vocal about that. No, I think it's definitely a sort of a positive resource, which is great.
Thanks.
What does a fulfilled life mean to you?
Fulfilled life. Well, I'm still trying to figure that out for sure. I think most of us are, but I feel fairly fulfilled when I'm, when I'm doing the blog, when I'm like making a positive impact, when I'm in places like this, beautiful places. I guess also fulfilled life is one where you don't have much regret. The less regret, the more fulfillment, perhaps. Perhaps that's correlated in a way.
And what do you say one thing all our listeners can do today that will have a massive positive effect on their lives?
I would say, and this is one of the things my dad taught me, is to like stay disciplined. Whatever you do, try and be really disciplined at it, even if it's something small, something like some kind of routine that you can implement no matter where you go. But yeah, it's one of the most challenging things, but definitely has the most positive impact in my life. Yeah.
What's an example of a discipline that you sort of implement every day?
Well, I try and exercise every day, even if it's just stretching. I know a lot of people like yoga, and I'm not too big into it, but I do my own kind of stretching routine. And it's kind of come from my swimming as in high school and college. I was on the swim team, and that kind of carried on into my life, where I keep stretching before I go to sleep, when I wake up. I think that really helps, actually. It's blood flowing.
So by just having that discipline, is it more, rather than the actual act that you're doing, is it more about having sort of that daily structure, something to rely on, which covers that framework every day? Is that the lesson there, of the structure?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, having that structure, it kind of keeps you sane, and the stretching too. I'd really recommend it. Now that I think of it, it's like gets all the blood flowing, and you feel just better. You sleep better. Yeah, highly recommend it.
Just stretch. Everyone, just from now on, as soon as this interview finishes, just put your computer away, turn away your iPod, and just go and stretch.
Exactly. Yeah, Japanese. That's what the Japanese do. They know it. They know what's up. Yeah.
You see, don't you? Out in the parks, on their lunch breaks, you suddenly see like hundreds of people gathering to do like stretching and stuff. Is that why?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I love it. And which book would you say has had the biggest positive impact on your life?
This is my favorite book, Shogun by James Clavell. It's about this English pilot, captain of a ship, and his mother's Dutch, his father's English, and he ends up piloting one of the first ships that reaches Japan. And this guy, he basically shipwrecks there with a bunch of Dutch sailors, and he kind of embodies like someone who can adapt to anything. Like he starts out in a prison in Japan and works his way up to become the shogun's right hand man. Like And in a culture and country where like he's got to learn everything from scratch, and like that growing up and traveling like has taught me that I can adapt to anything too and use that to my own advantage. Yeah, Shogun, James Clavell, definitely one of the biggest inspirations.
That's getting straight on my reading list. And last but not least, how can people stay in touch, find out more about you and your work?
Yeah, through my blog, runawayguide.com. And then through, doing Snapchat nowadays, getting into that, Instagram, the Runaway Guide. Yeah.
Amazing. Leif, thank you so much for talking to me today. I'm very, very jealous looking at your backdrop. I want to be there right now.
Yeah, come on down. We got 8 apartments. I'll set you up.
I'm gonna have to see you soon. I'm popping out in a couple of weeks. My next adventure. I'm heading to Sri Lanka, which I on your blog I saw that you went there 12 months ago or something like that. So yeah, I'll have to be getting some tips.
Yeah,
but I'm heading out there first. But afterwards, I'm gonna have to come and join you for sure. It looks unbelievable. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Sounds good. Let me know.
We'll talk soon. Thank you so much for giving up your afternoon.
Thanks for having me.